All right, welcome back. We are going to review units 4 and 5, which are intermediate algebra and coordinate geometry. So you have 18 problems to practice. Give them a shot, and if you get them wrong, I'll tell you how to do them right. Hit pause, come back when you're ready. Okay, it says if b is any real number, what is the sum of the smallest and largest possible values for b that make the expression real? In order for this to be real, this value has to stay greater than or equal to 0. Because if it doesn't, then underneath there is negative, and that would make an I, which makes it imaginary. So you basically just say you have to stay positive, and what would make that happen? We solve it. To kill a square root, I'm going to square both sides. That gives me 9 minus b squared greater than or equal to 0. Minus 9 minus 9. Negative b squared has to be greater than or equal to negative 9. Divide by negative 1. Divide by negative 1. B squared has to stay greater than or equal to 9. Square root, and b has to be greater than or equal to plus or minus 3. So the sum of the smallest would be negative 3, and the biggest would be positive 3, which gives me 0. Okay? Hit pause. Come back when you're ready. And hopefully you got 39 tickets. All right, the charge for a ticket at a movie theater is $6.50 for adults and $3 for children. For the showing of the 8 o'clock movie, the theater sold a total of 105 tickets and collected $567. How many more adult tickets than children tickets were sold? This is going to be a system of equations. They're talking about two different kinds of tickets, adult and children. So I'm going to let that X be the kid's ticket and Y be the adult ticket. And what you do is you find your two totals. There's a total of 105 tickets. Well, if this represents the number of kid tickets and this represents the number of adult tickets, then the number of X tickets plus the number of Y tickets has to equal 105 tickets. Let me move that over. So my first equation is X plus Y equals 105. My second equation, it gives me another total. It talks about they collected a total of $567. Well, now I'm adding money. I can't count tickets and come up with a total amount of money unless I say each kid ticket costs $3 for children, and each adult ticket costs $6.50. So now I got to add up to money. $3 times the number of these tickets plus $6.50 times the number of those tickets should add up to the total amount of money that I collected. So we have a system. And I'm going to solve it by eliminating the x's. So 3 goes up, 1 comes down. Since they came out the same, I got to make the bottom negative. So if I distribute the 3 on top, I get 3x plus 3y equals 315. On bottom, if I distribute the negative 1, I get negative 3x minus 650y equals a negative 567. The x's cancel. When I subtract the y's, I get negative 3.5y equals, subtract those, I get negative 252. Divide by negative 3.5, and I get y equals 72. Substitute it back into one of the originals, and I think I'll go up to the top, and that would tell me x plus 72 equals 105. Subtract 72, I get x equals 33. So what that means is I sold 33 kid tickets and 72 adult tickets. It says, the question says, how many more adult tickets than children tickets were sold? Well, how many more then suggests subtraction. So if I say 72 take away 33, I will get my 39 tickets. There's 39 more adult tickets than there are children tickets. Okay? All right, try this one. Hit pause. Come back when you're ready. And hopefully you got A. Okay. This is x equals y squared. I know that it's a parabola, so something has to be squared. And it can't be x that's squared, because when x is squared, your parabolas open up or down. So that's out. Negative y squared would be opening to the left, so it can't be that. Square root, this would be half of a parabola, and this would be half of a parabola. I got a whole parabola, so it's got to be that one. It's sideways. The other thing you could do if you're not actually sure is you could plug these points in and see if you get a true statement. If you plug all those in and you get the true statement, then there's your equation. All right, try this one. Hit pause, come back when you're ready. And hopefully you got J. It says, which is the linear equation, blah, 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 written in slope-intercept form. Slope-intercept form means you want a y all alone. You want it to look like this, which means get y alone. So to get y alone here, I'm going to move this over, and I'm going to move this over. So I'm going to add 5x, and I'm going to, maybe I should do it one at a time. I don't want to lose you. So I'd have 2y plus 2 equals 5x, and I'm going to minus 2. That gives me 2y equals 5x minus 2. Divide by 2, and I get y equals 5 halves x minus 1. Anytime you see slope-intercept form, it means get y alone. All right, try this one. Hit pause. Come back when you're ready. And your answer is A. It says, which of the following choices would be used to find the distance d from -3 to any point? Well, if you're going to find a distance between two things, that suggests subtraction. So if I say x minus a -3, that would be my distance. The reason we put bars around it is because a distance can go right or left. So this would be the absolute value. And then that double negative turns positive. Okay? Try this one. Hit pause. Come back when you're ready. And hopefully you got -1/4. They want the slope of the line that passes through those points. Slope formula is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. There's x1, y1, x2, y2. So my slope is 4 minus 2 over -3 minus 5. 4 minus 2 is 2. -3 minus 5 is -8. That reduces down to -1/4. Alright. Try this one. Hit pause. Come back when you're ready. This one says, how many real roots does the equation have? And I apologize, I didn't put the actual graphing calculator in here. But what I did to solve it, when they want to know how many real roots, they're asking you how many times does it cross the x-axis. Every time it touches the x-axis, you have a real root. So you just type it into y1 on your graphing calculator, and you look at the picture. Well, when I graphed it, it looked something like this. Okay, it doesn't touch the x-axis, which means it doesn't have any real zeros. If it would have crossed twice, then you would have known it has 2 real zeros. The other thing you can think of is the exponent tells you at most how many real zeros you can have. At most. It doesn't mean it's going to have 2 real ones, but it could have 2 at most. So these two are not even any choices. The other thing is it either, well, I won't go there. All right. So if it was a 3rd degree, then your highest possible answer would be 3. If it was a 4th degree, your highest possible answer would be 4. Okay, so you can eliminate answers based on that. All right, try this one. Hit pause. Come back when you're ready. And hopefully you got F. It says if the slope of a line is 0, then which could be the equation of a line perpendicular to it? Well, if your slope is 0 oops, sorry. If your slope is 0, that means you have a horizontal line, okay? So the only thing perpendicular to a horizontal line is a vertical line. Vertical lines have an equation that says x equals something. There's not a y in it. It's just x and some number, okay? Well, the only one that just is a vertical line equation is f. This would be a horizontal line. This would be start at -4, go up to over 1. This would look like that. This one I'd have to get y alone, but it's going to be a slanted line. And this is the identity function, which is right through the center. So the only one that's an equation of a vertical line that would be perpendicular to a horizontal line is x equals 5. Okay? Alright, try this one. Hit pause. Come back when you're ready. And hopefully you got C. It says, which of the following is the point on the graph below with a y coordinate of -8? Well, you could try and guesstimate it, but there, see the answers, how close they are? And that's really hard as far as drawing things out because we're not a computer. So unless we're real careful, and I'm adding my own, trying to get them the exact same distance apart, and they want a y coordinate of -8. So if I go over to here, trying to keep straight, and then I go up, it looks like 6, 7, 8, my ordered pair would be 9, -8. But I'll be honest with you, when I drew this out the first time, I wasn't very careful, and I could have easily gotten this one instead. So again, in an ACT type situation, do you really have time? My best bet would be to eyeball it and hope for the best. To do this, to actually figure out for sure which one would work, okay, you could, I know what you could do. I was doing it way longer. I actually found the equation of the line and then started substituting all of these in to see which ones were true. Which again is a good idea, but it took a lot of time, more time than you want to spend on an ACT test. But I didn't even think of this technique. You can figure out the slope. To get from this point to this point, I would have to go up 4 and left 3. So my slope is -3, 4. So if I just continue that on, and I go down 3, 1, 2, 3, -4, -5, -6, -7, and over 3, 1, 2, 3, and then I do it again. I guess that didn't really help because I didn't end up right on that one. Well, I could, let's see, go. Yeah, I was trying to think. It didn't really land properly because then I would have to go down another 3 and over 4, which gives me that point, but it doesn't land right there. I guess maybe you could try from this one down 1, 2, 3, 1. Wait a minute. Why did I flip it over? So that'd be a -4/3. My bad. There we go. Now it lands. There we go. I don't know why I flipped it over. So down 1, 2, 3, 4, over 3, 1, 2, there you go. And it landed on 9, -8. Okay. Yeah, because if I go down 4 and right 3, that makes 9, -8. There you go. There's another way you could do it, I guess. Alright. Try this one. Hit pause. Come back when you're ready. And hopefully you got J. Okay, which is equal to this rewritten with no imaginary numbers in the denominator? That's a fancy talk for saying rationalize your denominator. You're not allowed to leave i's or radicals in a denominator. So when they give you i's or radicals in the denominator, the trick is you multiply the top and the bottom by the conjugate of the bottom. The conjugate of 2i minus 4 would be 2i plus 4. So I got to do that on top and on bottom. Okay, so I'm going to make myself a little note here. I'm doing the top first. 5i times 2i is 10i squared. 5i times 4 is positive 20i. 3 times 2i is 6i. 3 times 4 is 12. Combine like terms and change your I squared to a real negative 1. So that's 10 times negative 1. That's positive 26i, and that's positive 12. This is negative 10, plus 12 is positive 2, plus 26i is the top. Okay, now bottom, I'm going to do 2i times 2i is 4i squared. 2i times 4 is 8i. Negative 4 times 2i is negative 8i. Negative 4 times positive 4 is negative 16. The i's cancel. I squared turns into a real negative 1, which gives me negative 4, minus 16, which gives me negative 20 on the bottom. Now that answer isn't there because all three of those, the 2, the 26, and the 20, can be reduced by 2. So 2 goes into 2 once, 2 goes into 26, 13, 2 goes into 20, 10. So I get 1 plus 13i over negative 10. Okay? Alright, try this one. Hit pause. Come back when you're ready. And hopefully you got 1984. Alright, it says in 1980, an electric company began manufacturing two different types of stereos, the R1000 and the S1000. The function R of x equals 6500x plus 8000 represents the number of R1000 stereos manufactured x years after the start of production. And S of x equals 7000x plus 6000 represents the number of S1000 stereos manufactured x years after the start of production. In what year did the total number of R1000 stereos manufactured equal the total number of S1000 stereos? Anytime they're trying to figure out when two functions are equal, you have a system. Okay, they're telling you this. There's your first equation, there's your second equation. They're telling you to solve it. So for this one, I'm going to rewrite this, and without using my function notation, I'm going to use my y notation. My r function would be y equals 6500x plus 8000. Let's scoot that over a little bit. Y equals 6500x plus 8000. My S1000 function is, but I'm going to write it with y, equals 7000x plus 6000. And I want to know when those two functions are equal. I'm going to use substitution for this system instead of elimination, because I've already got letters alone. So if I already know what a y is worth, I can either take this blue to this red side or this red to that blue. I'm going to take the red to the blue and replace this y with what it's worth, which is 7000x plus 6000, and that has to equal 6500x plus 8000. So now I can get my x's together. So I'm going to minus 6500x minus 6500x. That gives me 500x plus 6000 equals 8000. So next I'm going to minus 6000. That gives me 500x equals 2000. Divide by 500, and I get x equals 4. Now, you're going, 4 is not there, but remember, you found x, and x represents the years after the start of production. So I want 4 years after 1980, which would make it 1984. Okay? Alright, try this one, hit pause, come back when you're ready. And hopefully you got y equal negative 1. It says, what is the equation of the transverse axis of the hyperbola with this equation? Well, I know that if it's a hyperbola, whatever's under, it's the x's minus the y's. That means that your transverse axis has to be horizontal. Okay? What that means is the hyperbola is going to do this and this. Okay? Which I'm not really interested in. All they want to know is the equation of that transverse axis. Well, my center would be at hk. There's h, there's k. So my center is going to be at 2, -1. So if I go to 2, -1, I know that there's my center, and my transverse axis has to go through it horizontally. The equation of that line is y equals -1. A horizontal line starts with y, ends with whatever it goes through on its axis, and there you go. Okay? Alright, try this one. Hit pause. Come back when you're ready. And hopefully you got A. Alright, we've got to follow order of operations, so we have to do this multiplication before we do the subtraction. Okay? So, if I basically distribute the 3 to every element inside, that's going to give me 3 times 4 is 12. 3 times -2 is -6. 3 times -7 is -21. 3 times 6 is 18. Now, you have a couple of choices. You can keep the minus and just multiply by 5, or you can say I'm going to add whatever I multiply -5 by. And I choose to distribute the -5. So -5 times -1 would be +5. -5 times -3 would be +15. -5 times 5 is -25. -5 times 2 is -10. So we did the multiplication, and now we're going to do the addition, which would say 12 plus 5 here, -6 plus 15 here, -21 plus -25 here, 18 plus a -10 here. And then that finally gives me my 17, my 9, my -46, and my +8. Yeah? Alrighty? Try this one. Hit pause. Come back when you're ready. And hopefully you got H. Okay, the graph above is the solution set for which system of inequalities? Well, you could go through and graph each set and see which one matches, or you could find the equations and get it that way. It's easier to get the equations. Alright, let me get some color going here. So I'm going to look at this red one. I know it's going to start with y. I need an M and a B, okay? But I know that it's going to be y, and I know since they're shading below, it's going to point at y, and I know because it's dotted, no bar. So now all I have to do is figure out the M and the B of that red line. Well, if you take any 2 points on the red line, okay, like these two, they're intercepts, I would have to go up 2 and right 3. So the slope is 2/3 x, and my y-intercept is 2, so plus 2, and there's the red. Okay? Then I gotta get the equation for the blue. It's y. This one is shaded above, so it's got to eat the y. It's solid, so I need a bar. And same thing, I need to figure out my slope. Well, I would have to go up 5, up 5, left 4, so it's -5/4 x, and its y-intercept is 5, so plus 5. So this would be y is greater than or equal to a -5/4 x plus 5. There's that one, and there you go. Alright, try this one. Hit pause, come back when you're ready. And hopefully you got 4/5. It says, what is the factor by which the sequence 120, 96, blah, 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 is decreasing? Well, what you do is you divide backwards. You want to take A2 divided by A1. So that would be 96 divided by 120, which is 0.8. Then if you see if that stands, okay, so then you're going to take A3 divided by A2, which would be 76.8 divided by 96. Type it in the calculator and you get 0.8. Try the next one. A4 divided by A3 would be 61.44 divided by 76.8. Type it in and you get 0.8. And I could check the next one, but I'm pretty sure that the factor by which it's decreasing is 0.8. If you type that in the calculator, you get 4/5, or use your brain, that's 8/10 reduces down to 4/5. Okay? Alright, try this one, hit pause, come back when you're ready. And hopefully you got 2 squares of 17. It says, given the equation y equals the square root of x, what is the distance between the 2 points with x coordinates of 1 and 9? Well, the first thing you have to do is get your ordered pair. Alright, if they give me an x equals 1 and I plug that in, I get y equals the square root of 1, which is 1. So that ordered pair would be 1, 1. They also give me an x coordinate of 9, so y equals the square root of 9 would make y equal to 9. That gives me an ordered pair of, 3. That gives me an ordered pair of 9, 3. And they want the distance, so now I have to use the distance formula, which is the square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. So that's going to give me distance equals the square root of 9 minus 1 squared plus 3 minus 1 squared. That gives me the square root. 9 minus 1 is 8, squared is 64. 3 minus 1 is 2, squared is 4. That gives me the square root of 68, which isn't there because they broke it down. If I break 68 down by 2, I get 34. By 2, I get 17, which is prime. But I have a perfect 4. Square root of that makes 2. Square roots of 17. Okay? Try this one. Hit pause. Come back when you're ready. Alright, it says to make a profit, a bicycle manufacturing company needs to produce at least P of x equals x squared plus 30x bicycles an hour, where x represents the number of hours after the start of the day. Which of the following choices represents a production amount where no profit is made? Alright, well, if they made 140 bicycles 4 hours after the start of the day, they gave me time. X is my time, so I'm going to plug in P of 4. And that would be 4 squared plus 30 times 4. That's 16 plus 120 is 136. Okay? So, 140 is greater. In other words, to make the profit, they would have to make at least 136. And they made 140. So that would be a profit. It's just to break even, or to start making a profit, they would have to make 136 bicycles. They made 140, so that would make a profit. They're asking me to find the one that wouldn't. So if I find P of 2 equals 2 squared plus 30 times 2, which gives me 64. That's exactly, 64 is equal to 64, so there's not a profit, but they will break even. Okay? And my thing is to show no profit, like you're losing. Okay? The next one, change colors here, is 5 hours. So if I find P of 5, I get 5 squared plus 30 times 5, which is 175. Again, that's equal. So again, that would be a break even. For 7 hours, if I find P of 7, that's 7 squared plus 30 times 7, which is 259. Okay? They only made 250. They needed to make 259 to make a profit. So this would be a loss. And that's the one they're asking for. You could check the last one, but it works. Okay? For 7 hours, to make a profit, they'd have to make 259 bikes, and they didn't. They only made 250. So that's going to be a loss for them. Alright, last one. Try this one. Hit pause, come back when you're ready. And hopefully you got F. Okay, the wording on these, they're assuming, by their answer, I know that they're assuming that you're starting with a circle at 0, with a center at 0. Y minus 0 squared equals radius squared. Okay? So what they're saying is if you have a circle at the center, okay, it's saying if you shift it up 3 units, well, that would mean that you would have to add 3 here. Okay, so that would be y minus, well, let's see. Remember, though, you got to go opposite. So if you're trying to go up, you really want this to look negative. So that would be minus 3 squared. Okay, and if you want to go left, you got to make this the opposite, which would be positive. And then they tell me my radius is 5, so square that, and you get 25. Okay? And we are done with our Unit 4-5 subtest. So I will see you next time.